A quick warning, the first segment contains descriptions of sexual violence and assault. Hi, I'm Rahel Philipose and you are listening to Three Things, the Indian Express news show. In this episode, we talk about the outcomes of Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit to India last week. We also talk about an undertaking by Indian officials to archive the witty and humorous exchanges between the country's politicians in the parliament. But first, we talk about the video that shook the nation last week. The video, which began doing the rounds on Wednesday, shows two women from the Kuki-Zomi community in Manipur being paraded naked by a mob of men and being sexually assaulted. The clip once again highlights the extent of the violence and conflict between the two dominant communities in the state, the Metis and the Kukis, which began on the 3rd of May. Now, a day after the video first surfaced, it not only received sharp reactions from the opposition, who began targeting the government, but also from the Supreme Court, which warned that it would step in if the government did not act. And in addition to this, Prime Minister Narendra Modi finally broke his silence on the ethnic violence in Manipur, stating that the video had shamed the nation. In this segment, the Indian Express's Sukrita Baruah, who has been reporting on the conflict, joins my colleague Shashank Bhargava to talk about this video and the incident in question.
Sukrita, begin by telling us, when did the video first surface and when did the incident itself take place?
So this video itself surfaced on Wednesday, which is July 19th. So that's when this video first surfaced and, it was widely circulated that day. And, later it came to be known that the video actually captures an incident which took place a long time ago. So this is an incident which took place on May 4th, which is the second day of violence in Manipur. So if you remember, the current violence which is taking place in Manipur began on May 3rd. So this is an incident which took place on May 4th, but the video only came out on July 19th. So it generated a lot of shock. It's a deeply disturbing video. And in that you can see two women are being paraded naked down this road by a huge group of men. And some of the men are forcibly groping them and are, dragging them towards a field. So later it came to be known that these are two women from the Kuki-Zomi community in Manipur and that this is an incident which took place in Thobal, which is a Meitei-dominated district in Manipur. And though in the video you can only see two women, when we saw the police complaint later, it turns out that there was another woman. So there were three women who had been stripped and assaulted in this way.
And Sukrita, what do we know about how these three women managed to escape this mob?
So primarily through what is written in the police complaint that was later filed in relation to this incident, we know that this took place after their village was attacked. So they lived in a village which is located in Kangpokpi district, and they said that the village was attacked that day on May 4th. And that a group of people had fled to the forest. So in their police complaint, they say that after some time they were rescued by police from Nongpok Sekmai police station, which is located in Thobal district. And they said that while they were on their way to that police station in police escort, they were forcibly seized from police custody by a mob, after which this incident took place. So apparently, what the complaint says is that there were these three women, in addition to which there were also two men who are the father and the younger brother of the youngest of these three women, who is just 21 years old. So in the police complaint, they say that both these men were murdered by the mob. And after this incident of assault took place, these women were able to escape from there. They said that they were left there. Though some of the survivor testimonies, according to what they've told some media houses, is that they were helped by some of the members of the mob later to escape from the spot.
And you mentioned that this incident had taken place on the 4th of May. But when was the police complaint of the incident filed?
Right. So the police complaint was filed by the husband of one of these three women. And the police complaint was filed at Saikul police station, which is located in the Kuki-dominated Kangpokpi district. So, Shashank, what you need to keep in mind is that since this conflict has taken place, there's been a very rigid and strong divide between Kuki-dominated areas and Meitei-dominated areas. So though this incident took place in a Meitei-dominated area, the complainants were not able to go to that relevant area to register the FIR. So this police complaint was lodged in Saikul police station on May 18th. So this is 2 weeks after the incident took place, and a zero FIR was registered at that police station. From what we've come to know is that, so in the case of a zero FIR can be registered in any police station, and then it gets transferred to the relevant police station, which has to conduct the investigation. So what we have learned is that this zero FIR was transferred to the relevant police station, which is Nongpok Sekmai. Much later, it was transferred only on June 21st. So it's been a really long process, and by the time this video emerged, it was already far more than 2 months since the incident took place.
And what do the police have to say about why they were not able to take any action in the matter so far? Why did it take them so long?
So there's a bunch of reasons. So in terms of why it took so much time for the case to be transferred to the relevant police station in the first place, what a police official at Saikul police station told me is that it took a long time because of the current tensions, because of which personnel from Saikul, which is a Kuki-dominated area, are not able to go to the valley, and the other way around. So Meitei police officials are not able to come to Saikul. So he attributed this long delay in transfer to this difficulty. In Nongpok, in Thobal district, what police have said is that the reason that they couldn't take any action till now was because of a lack of evidence. And they also said that there were difficulties because the complainants were not present in Thobal district and because they were elsewhere in Kangpokpi or Churachandpur or elsewhere, in other districts. So these are among the reasons that they have cited. Speaking to the media, when Chief Minister Wickremesinghe was questioned about this delay, he said that there are more than 6,000 FIRs, which has been making conducting investigation in any particular case difficult.
And how many people have been arrested in the matter so far?
So the arrests only started on Thursday, right? So they only started on July 20th. So as of the evening of July 22, 6 people have been arrested so far, of which one of whom is a juvenile. And the FIR has been registered under multiple sections of the IPC, which include charges of murder, rape and abduction.
Right, and the prime accused in the matter is this 32-year-old man named Hiroim Hirodas Meitei. We understand that after he was arrested, his house was set on fire by a group of women in his village. And a local leader even said that we cannot allow such a person to be in our society and that it's a shame to the entire Meitei community. But Sukrita, considering just how shocking this video is, and again, it shows the complete breakdown of law and order in the state, talk about the kind of reactions it has sparked.
Right, so considering the fact that the Manipur violence has been going on for almost 3 months now, the emergence of this particular video has generated unprecedented outrage. And one of the most notable impacts that it has had is that the Prime Minister, who hadn't issued any public statement or hadn't acknowledged any incident in Manipur till date, finally spoke up on Thursday, the day after the video emerged.
मणिपुर की जो घटना सामने आई है, किसी भी सभ्य समाज के लिए ये शर्मसार करने वाली घटना है। पाप करने वाले, गुनाह करने वाले कितने हैं, कौन है, वो अपनी जगह पे है, लेकिन बेइज्जती पूरे देश की हो रही है। 140 करोड़ देशवासियों को शर्मसार होना पड़ रहा है। मैं सभी मुख्यमंत्रियों से आग्रह करता हूं कि वे अपने राज्य में कानून व्यवस्था को और मजबूत करें, खास करके हमारी माताओं बहनों की रक्षा के लिए कठोर से कठोर कदम उठाएं। घटना चाहे राजस्थान की हो, घटना चाहे छत्तीसगढ़ की हो, घटना चाहे मणिपुर की हो, इस देश में.
In his statement, though he didn't acknowledge the rest of the violence that has been taking place for this duration, but he condemned this specific incident, and he said that his heart is filled with sorrow and anger and that this is a shameful act.
And what about Chief Minister Biren Singh? How has he reacted to this?
So Chief Minister Biren Singh has condemned it pretty strongly. He referred to the act as a crime against humanity. And he stated multiple times that the state government will be working towards exemplary punishment. And what he's been saying is that they will make efforts towards ensuring capital punishment for those who are found guilty of this case. So, yeah, that's been the reaction from Chief Minister Biren Singh.
And Sukrita, besides this horrific incident, you have also written about this other case that was actually filed in the same police station a day before this case was filed. And this was an alleged case of rape and murder. So talk to us about that case and what you've come to know about it.
So this is a separate case altogether. But in this case as well, a zero FIR had been registered under similar charges. So murder, abduction and rape in that same police station, Saikul police station. So this is a case which took place in Imphal on May 5th. And this zero FIR was registered on May 16th at Saikul police station. So this is a case of two young women who were both in their 20s who worked in a car wash in Imphal. So the last time that family tried to reach out to them on May 5th, the phone was answered by somebody else, some other woman who was speaking in the Manipuri language. So based on the accounts of other people who worked and lived with them, the family found out that the girls had been attacked that evening and had been locked in a room by a huge mob. So they filed and then they later identified the bodies many days later because police sent them photos of the bodies and they were able to identify that it was these two girls. So the family filed an FIR for charges of rape, abduction and murder in the same police station cycle. And that case was subsequently similarly transferred a month later to the relevant police station, which is Porompat in Imphal.
And Sukrita, now it has been more than 80 days since the violence started in Manipur. Tell us what the situation in the state is right now. What are people who you're in touch with have been telling you?
Yeah, so things continue to be incredibly tense in the state. Like we've heard many times before, right? There are thousands of arms which are in the hands of civilians, arms which have been seized from security establishments, and these continue to be in the hands of civilians. Thousands of these have not been retrieved so far, have not been recovered. So there are arms present. The level of distrust and divide in the society continues to persist till date, and a partition-like situation where people from, say, the Kuki community can't go to Meitei-dominated areas and vice versa. So that continues to persist. And the tensest areas continue to be the border areas, right, which is at the border of, say, Kuki and Meitei-dominated territories. And these areas are very vulnerable to violent incidents. A lot of the dead bodies continue to not be claimed and lie in mortuaries, in hospitals. So it continues to be on edge constantly.
And next we talk about India-Sri Lanka ties. Last week, Sri Lanka's president, Ranil Wickremesinghe, visited India for the first time since he took charge of the country exactly a year ago. Now, if you remember, last year Sri Lanka went through an unprecedented economic crisis and a major political upheaval. The Indian Express's Shubhajit had visited Sri Lanka during that time and told us about the extent of the crisis.
So I had visited at that point of time for about 10-12 days. I was there during the worst economic crisis that had hit the country since its independence in the last 70 years. And at that time, essential commodities were not available, or the prices had climbed up by 2 to 3 times of basic like milk and vegetables and, sanitary napkins, tissue rolls, everything, So at that point of time, the situation led to ouster of the Gotabaya Rajapaksa, who was the president then. And Ranil Wickremesinghe, he stepped in as the new president.
And it's important to note that India had played an instrumental role in helping Sri Lanka through the crisis.
So India extended lines of credit, and through that lines of credit, it gave fuel, it gave medicines, it gave all the essential commodities because essentially what had happened was Sri Lanka was bankrupt in the sense that it was staring at a crisis where it had no or very minimal forex reserves. So it couldn't have bought oil from abroad or wherever it wanted to source it from. So India supplied oil in lieu of that credit line. And it also gave all these essential commodities which Sri Lanka doesn't produce and imports. So in that sense, it was a generous gesture by the Indian government, and which is basically the Indian people's taxpayers' money.
And so during his visit to New Delhi, Wickremesinghe expressed his gratitude to India for its support during what he termed as the most challenging period in the country's modern history.
I have conveyed to Prime Minister Modi and to the government and the people of India a profound appreciation for the solidarity and support rendered to Sri Lanka in what was undoubtedly the most challenging period in our modern history. Friends, in reviewing recent
and so continuing in this spirit of solidarity, India and Sri Lanka on Friday finalized a vision document which is aimed at enhancing and reinforcing their economic ties. To know more about this vision document and how the growing ties between the countries might affect the geopolitics of the region, my colleague Utsa Sarmin speaks to Shubhajit in this segment.
Shubhajit, firstly, can you update us on the current situation in Sri Lanka? Has the country been able to stabilize itself since Wickremesinghe took charge after the crisis?
Definitely. So Ranil Wickremesinghe has been an experienced politician. He's been around for 3 to 4 decades in Sri Lankan politics, and at the highest level. In fact, he's been Prime Minister earlier, and since then he's taken measures in terms of economic measures, and IMF talks with International Monetary Fund also progressed, and Sri Lanka has got a bailout package from the IMF on condition that there will be financial reforms and economic reforms. So this, as I had written at that point of time, and I say this is their 1991 moment. It's like for India, 1991 was that economic situation. It led to the reforms. For Sri Lanka, it is a similar situation that it finds itself in. And Ranil Wickremesinghe, as the president, is sort of keen to move towards those systemic reforms, say in ports, in tourism, diversifying its industries. So all of that. So in that context, the situation is much better now in in terms of forex reserves, because the tourism industry is not back to normal, but it has picked up. It is better. People are going there, spending some kind of money there. So the tourism-based economy, which had taken a hit, it is again coming back to normalcy. It's far from it, but it's getting there. So having said that, it still has a long path ahead. In that context, in fact, exactly a year later, he made this visit to India. And this visit actually was a year of trying to stabilize the economy. And now the future ahead, the path ahead. That is the tone and the context of the visit that took place, where President Ranil Wickremesinghe met the entire Indian top political leadership.
Right, and speaking about the visit, both countries adopted a vision document on Friday. Could you explain the purpose of this vision document?
Yeah, so as I was saying, because Sri Lankan president and Sri Lankan government was able to stabilize the economy, but it's their 1991 moment. So they need help and cooperation and sort of support in almost all sectors in the economic sphere. And for that, India has been seen as the first responder, a friend in need in that time of crisis. So this vision document for a deeper economic partnership was adopted after the talks between the Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe and Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Friday. And this vision document aims at accelerating mutual cooperation in 5 different pillars. So those 5 pillars are maritime connectivity, air connectivity, energy connectivity, people connectivity, and trade and economic financial connectivity as well. So this particular vision document details on each of these accounts. It details what are the measures, what are the goals they have set.
And could you talk about some of the key goals mentioned in this vision document?
So, for example, on maritime connectivity, they have talked about cooperation in development of ports and logistics at Colombo and a couple of other ports, Trincomalee and Kanke-Sinthurai. Then they have also talked about resumption of passenger ferry services. between India and Sri Lanka. The document, in terms of air connectivity, it talks about expansion of flights between India and Sri Lanka and also developing their airport infrastructure. Similarly, on energy and power connectivity, they have decided to establish a high-capacity power grid interconnection so that there is electricity trade, power trade can happen between Sri Lanka and other regional countries. And this includes not just India, but also Bangladesh, Bhutan, and Nepal. They also have in the economic pillar, economic connectivity, they talked about having an economic and technology cooperation agreement. And they said that they will undertake discussions in that. Similarly, they want to have India's UPI-based digital payments in Sri Lanka for trade and transactions between businesses and common people, which will help Indian tourists in Sri Lanka, visiting Sri Lanka. And apart from that, between the people to people, they want to promote awareness and popularize the Buddhist circuit in India and the Ramayana trail in Sri Lanka. So this vision document is essentially an all-encompassing document where India and Sri Lanka both can reap the benefits of the economic partnership, where Sri Lanka becomes stronger, stable economically. And India also has a deeper economic interest in having a stable Sri Lanka near its southern border.
And Shubhajit, what does the growing closeness between Delhi and Colombo mean for the geopolitics of the region, especially considering how China attempted to increase its influence on Sri Lanka during the crisis last year?
So, yes, China is the elephant in the room because of its sheer size, its economic strength and military strength. It has been eyeing Sri Lanka as a hub where it can be part of its Belt and Road Initiative. It has funded projects in the past. It has given loans. So that really bound Sri Lanka in a debt. And later, the economic disadvantages were very clear and apparent to Sri Lankans themselves. And India had been warning about this to its neighboring country. But when the crisis actually hit, India was the first responder. India became the net security provider in that sense, from the economic stability point of view. And from that context, this relationship, a deeper economic integration with Sri Lanka, is actually also has a strategic significance, where the propensity of Sri Lanka to drift towards China and China's sort of growing influence in the island country can be countered and can be challenged because India has had a much longer, deeper presence and relationship with Sri Lanka for decades, or centuries rather. So in that context, when India and China are contesting for sphere of influence in the Indo-Pacific and in the region, in the subcontinent, in India's neighborhood, this India-Sri Lanka, a deeper economic partnership, is a step towards countering the Chinese influence and its growing strategic footprint in India's neighborhood.
And finally, we talk about lighter moments at the Parliament. Last week marked the beginning of the monsoon session of Parliament, and as usual, the first few days of parliamentary proceedings were full of high decibel sloganeering and multiple adjournments. Since the first ever session of the Lok Sabha in 1952, acrimonious scenes like these have become the order of the day in Parliament. But turns out India's MPs also have a humorous side.
एक देश का नाम है रोम, एक देश का नाम है रोम, लेकिन लोकसभा के अध्यक्ष बन गए हैं बिरला ओम.
Now that was an original poem recited by Republican Party of India leader Ramdas Athavale while he was felicitating Lok Sabha Speaker Om Birla soon after he was sworn in on the 19th of June 2019. And the Indian Express's Divya A tells us that this kind of wit and humor are not new to the parliament.
Wit and humor has always been part of parliamentary debates in India ever since the 50s and up until now. For instance, in the 50s and 60s, it's a very interesting anecdote. When the parliament was very young, socialist Ram Manohar Lohiya had once told the House that Jawaharlal Nehru, our first Prime Minister, he said that Nehru is not as aristocrat as he was portrayed. He said that I can prove that the Prime Minister's grandfather was a chapadasi in the Mughal court. To which he had a laugh and he responded, I am glad that the honorable member has at least accepted that what I have been trying to tell him for a very long time, that I am a man of the people. So this was the level of, humor, wit, and repartee in the parliament between our politicians.
And now, to showcase this witty and satirical side of our country's politicians, officials at the parliament have recently started sharing these amusing exchanges in the wit and humor section of Digital Sansad, the new website of the parliament that was soft launched in April this year.
With the new parliament coming up and this whole new Digital Sansad project where a new website has also been created. So what they have done is they have put the wit and humor section prominently up front, and you get everything from the 14th session onwards till date and even in the future. Everything will be uploaded on it in terms of wit and humor references on a complete transcript basis.
While this is the first time all these humorous exchanges will be made available for the general public, officials at the Lok Sabha Secretariat have been cataloguing these moments for a long time now. Here, Divya explains how it was done.
So at the end of the day's proceeding, what is the general practice is to just get everything in a transcript form. So whatever is said is in any case transcripted and is there. So they would initially combine those wit and humor references, the poetry references, the lighter stuff, but that was for their internal circulation. That was always in the physical book format.
These physical publications that Divya mentioned would then be circulated to the Speaker's office and the Parliamentary Library, among others. And over the years, some MPs have earned the reputation of being funnier than others.
In the recent times, as officials were telling me, the most funny people are, of course, RJD leader Lalu Prasad Yadav. Then there is the Republican Party leader Ramdas Athawale. Then there are certain others, for instance, our former Lok Sabha Speaker Somnath Chatterjee. He was supposed to be very witty.
When Divya spoke to former director of the Lok Sabha Secretariat, K. Srinivasan, who had compiled these humorous references daily for 17 years between 1983 and 2020, he highlighted a particular incident involving RJD chief Lalu Prasad Yadav and former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee.
It was in 1999. This was a discussion on the Atal Bihari Vajpayee government renaming Jawahar Rozgar Yojana as Gram Smriti Yojana. So Lalu Prasad Yadav had addressed Atalji and said, Nehruji had said to you that Atal, one day you will become the Prime Minister of this country. Now that you've become the Prime Minister not once but twice, ab to jaan chhodiye mulk ka.
Nehruji ne kaha tha कि अटल एक दिन तुम देश का प्रधानमंत्री बनेगा, आपने कहा था। तो आप एक बार नहीं, आप दो बार हो गए। आप तो जान छोड़िए मुल्क का।
So even Vajpayee couldn't control his laughter over this. And at another time, Lalu had said that तुम अगर मुझको ना चाहो तो कोई बात नहीं, तुम किसी और को चाहोगे तो मुश्किल होगी. But yeah, at various points, I think almost all our MPs have used wit, sarcasm and poetry to kind of say things which they wouldn't have said otherwise in plain language.
But some officials told Divya that things have changed over the decades and now there is a lot less wit and humor in the parliament than before. Even Prime Minister Modi, who is known for quoting couplets every once in a while, remarked on the decline in these kind of repartees between our country's leaders.
In fact, in 2014, just a few months into his first term, he had in fact gone on to say that, there is a loss of wit and humor in the House. And he had said that wit and humor are gradually fading away from parliamentary proceedings as members are worried about what color the 24/7 TV will give to even one proverb that they quote. But Modi has also recited couplets at various points. For instance, in 2020, just in the last session, he said to the opposition, "वो जब दिन को रात कहे तो तुरंत मान जाओ, नहीं मानोगे तो वो दिन में भी नकाब ओढ़ लेंगे." Those kind of things have always happened. Now it's become more personal and, people take offense, as officials were telling me, but some of it has been retained.
You were listening to 3 Things by the Indian Express. Today's show was hosted by me, Rahel Philipose, and written and produced by Utsa, Sarmin, Shashank, Bhargava, and me, Rahel Philipose. It was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone who you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcast@indianexpress.com.